De oro, date un shot de cloro, loro para la digestión. Que lo mío es cuestión de tiempo y el tiempo da la razón. Yo tengo el sazón, hora de apretar el botón. Gracias a tu el que apoya de corazón.
And I think that's a perfect way to explain JJ. He treats you as an equal. He'll never look down on you or treat you like you're...
¿Qué te hizo irte por el baloncesto?
Esta es una pregunta que es la primera vez que la voy a contestar live.
Yo pienso que yo soy quien soy hoy en día en el baloncesto gracias a dos personas. A Monchi, que en paz descanse, y a Martín de León.
Que estaba con Arroyo en el mismo equipo y no me lo quisieron dar, no me quisieron llevar y ganamos.
¿Qué tú crees que pasó ahí?
Pues no sé, parece que no me hice cerquillo ese día, me veía feo, no me quisieron montar en el avión.
Un momento que nunca voy a olvidar en mi carrera y ella fue la única razón por la cual yo jugué en Puerto Rico. Yo me quería ir para Europa desde...
Y viendo como Miami está tan joven, me debí haber quedado en Miami. Porque lo que me pasó en Dallas fue una injusticia.
Esto fue como que la cherry del en el cheesecake, ¿me entiendes?
¿Entiendes?
Que la cherry no es tan grande. Así es que yo lo veo.
Dame el celular. Y yo, no, coach, yo lo voy a poner en el camerino, mala mía. No, déjame verlo. Tacho, lo cogió. ¿Cuántas veces yo he dicho a la gente que apaguen los celulares y lo dejen? Pues todo el mundo, no, es verdad. Tacho, cogió el celular, metí con 3 pisos. ¡Pam!
Después del juego 5 se me pega el vikingo. Oye, la próxima quincena es tuya, ¿oíste?
Coming from, I came from a Division II college. I didn't play at a big time school, so I don't have the big name and the big resume that other players have. But I know I can play. I mean, basketball is basketball. It don't matter where you come from. So
I had 21 in a row, 30 points in the third quarter. A couple of seconds before the third quarter is over, I fouled the guy and I walked myself to the bench and sat down. I said, I'm not playing no more.
¿Cómo te digo? Yo empecé ganándomelo, Iván. Yo pienso que gracias a Dios pues yo me he ganado los minutos, me he ganado el respeto de los muchachos, que sabe que es algo que me he ganado el respeto de Gary.
Those young hoopers out there, what would it be?
Don't practice what you don't want to do.
Esto es traído a ustedes gracias a Sportify.lo. Si usted está buscando representación legal, asesoría financiera o si eres un jugador profesional y estás buscando representación legal de un personal certificado por la FIBA, el licenciado Esteban Aguilera es el hombre que tú estás buscando. El licenciado Esteban Aguilera lo puedes buscar a través de las redes sociales como @Sportify.lo y es quien hace posible este proyecto de Catch and Shoot Puerto Rico. Bueno, bienvenidos una vez más a otro episodio más, un gran episodio, una gran conversación que estoy a punto de tener con uno de los jugadores que vistió la camiseta de Puerto Rico y también militó en el Baloncesto Superior Nacional con varios equipos y de hecho en el propio Baloncesto Superior Nacional de Puerto Rico estuvo por 12 temporadas anotando 3,443 puntos en 322 partidos, promediando 4.6 rebotes por juego, 1.7 asistencias, del triple un 35%, en canastos de 2 un 46%. El gran Carmelo Lee, que estuvo en 3 finales en el BSN, ganó en el 2009 con los Vaqueros de Bayamón y en el 2013 en ese campeonato, luego de 34 años sin Quebradillas haber ganado un campeonato, estuvo en ese campeonato del 2013 con los Piratas de Quebradillas. Quiero darle la bienvenida a Carmelo Anthrone Lee. Carmelo, how you doing? Thank you for being here with me. Ivan Rodriguez for Catch and Shoot. Please welcome Carmelo Lee. How you doing, Carmelo?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for taking your time to be here with me and having this conversation. I was saying a little bit of your mentioning a little bit of your experience on the BSN. You were there for 12 seasons, 3 finals, 2 championships. We're gonna talk a little bit about them right away. But first, let's get to know Carmelo a little bit. Carmelo, for the people who doesn't know, where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Harlem, Georgia, a little small town outside of Atlanta, about an hour and a half from Atlanta. east of Atlanta.
Okay. Melo, when you were growing up, was basketball your first sport, or did you practice in other different sports?
Actually, baseball probably was the first organized sport that I played. I started playing baseball when I was 7 for the first organized sport, but basketball is something that I always picked up, and I couldn't play organized basketball until I turned like 8 years old, 9 years old.
Okay. And when it was we're gonna get there a little bit after, but I want to ask you, you retired. At least your last season on the BSN was in 2016. Was that your last season as a pro player?
Yes, 2016 was when I call it quits because I had another year to play. Fajardo offered me a contract, but I was getting at that point where I was ready to retire, and then the people here offered me a job, so I just stopped playing because it was time for me to give it up. Really.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that 2016. Okay. How's that retirement decision? Because it's kind of hard when you've been all these years where basketball it's all that matters. It's your work, it's all what you do, and whatever you do, whatever decision, it has to be around basketball and your career. How hard it is to like call it quit, like just saying I'm done with it. I'm not gonna, even though you got an offer to keep playing. How was that decision?
Wait, for me, it was easy because really, probably when we won in 2013, when I was with Kev, I was really trying to set myself up what I want to do after basketball. And so when I come home in the off season, I was running my own training program, training kids here in the area, getting to know a lot of people in the area, and really, I started enjoying that more than I started trying to get myself back in shape to come and play. So, but once, so I was at a facility that I run now. I was just doing all they camps, all they skills classes, and everything like that. And they was giving me a salary for doing that for 6 months, and then I go to Puerto Rico for 6 months. So luckily, the guy that was here when I was here, he wanted to be a head coach, so he got a head coaching job in Canada. So in 2016, that's when he left, and they asked me, do you want to be the head director of all the basketball operation here? I said, sure, no problem. They're like, well, you're going to start in January. I said, that's fine. They said, but what about you playing? I said, hey, I was what, 42, I think. 39 when I retired. 39 or 40 when I retired. So I was like, hey, I think it's that time I got to start looking what's best for me and my family in order to really to take care of my kids.
Yeah, and then I go for that question because there's a lot of I know a lot of players that in that point of retirement it gets a little bit hard, and sometimes they can't figure it out. Like it's not the same anymore. You get older, it's not the same that you can provide on the court, that you can do is not the same, and sometimes it's hard for them. And right now there's some people talking around BSN and stuff. I see on social media some people saying like, oh, let's say for an example, let's say Filiberto Rivera. There's a lot of people saying, hey, why these people keep signing this guy? He's taking a space of another player, and it's like it's hard. But I want to see, what do you think about that? Because I would say my point first. If he's ready, he can still do things on the court. Maybe not for 30 plus minutes, but a good 10, 15 minutes. So if he goes for it and he can do stuff on the court, I'll take him too. What do you think about it?
To me, it's Excuse me, I got to cough for a second. Drink a cup of water. To me, it is a no-brainer with people. Like, they don't understand. The older we get, the wiser we get. And, I mean, we know how to win. And that's what it's really about. Do you know how to win or not? Filiberto is a winner. Like, nobody shouldn't look at him like they wasting a roster spot by signing him. He still know how to be a leader and know how to run the program and everything. So I think, excuse me, I think with that, people just look at it by age. But as long as he know how to win and accepting his role, everything should be fine. It's like when I got older, people like, he can't do this no more. He can't do this. But I was still one of the better defenders and one of the better shooters. I mean, I just played my role. I mean, people say, you need to come off the bench. I like, fine, I come off the bench. I come off the bench for half of the season. Next thing you know, I'm in the starting lineup. People like, he's too old to be starting. Like, I know how to win. I know how to be consistent. As professionals, we know how to take care of our bodies in order to perform. The older we get, the less partying we're doing. So it's the more stretching and the more focus on what we have to do to set ourselves up in order to prepare for our future after basketball. And I think that's what Philly's doing. I mean, he's just setting himself up in a better situation. Like, I know I still can help these young guys and guide them to what they need to do.
That was another thing I was about to say. The mentoring on those new players getting into the league, especially because I have I'm on these conversations. They always I always get this topic about that first year as a pro is very hard because they don't understand why they get same minutes as they were used on college or whatever, and it's a little bit of hard transition, and because they're not mature and mentally they're not prepared for that, to spending more time on the bench, they get frustrated, they can't, sometimes they take bad decisions or bad attitudes. So that's another big role as a mentor right there, so they can guide all these new kids getting into the pro. And it's not also just about what they can give into the court, in the court, basketball, speaking about stats or whatever, people don't see what happens inside of the locker room. And you know that happens, that's a big deal. There's a lot of stuff that happens inside that most people doesn't know. um let's get back to your development in basketball. When you were growing up here in Georgia, how hard it was for you, like becoming, because we're talking about that was like 19, your high school years were 1993, 1994, right?
I graduated in 95, so 92 to 95. Long
Yeah.
ago.
How hard it was to have that exhibition, that exposure to being able to have or to be seen by this basketball scouts to get to the next level in college?
Well, my freshman year in high school, I went to a school like we were terrible. Like we probably went like 3-30. I was the only freshman that started, and like my freshman year was a struggle for me because I was averaging like 20 plus points a game, and we were still losing. But it was people in my area get more recognition than me, and one kid he was winning, but he wasn't averaging as many points. The other kid he was losing. He wasn't nowhere near average the amount of points that I was, but they were still getting recruited by getting his exposure by these D1 schools that I wasn't getting no recognition from. So my first 2 years of high school was really a struggle for me because I wasn't getting the right recognition that I thought I should be getting. And then I end up transferring my junior year to another small town in Georgia called Thompson to play with my best friend, Bontico Cummins, who also played in the BSN for a year and coached there. Me and him played together my junior and senior year. And I think once I made that transfer, my stock just got higher because the coach was putting us in the right places to get seen to play basketball. And me being 6'7" and can handle and shoot the ball, it really was very simple for me to get recruited at some of the biggest stages, because biggest schools, because I was getting recruited by Florida, Syracuse, North Carolina State, Miami, and then I just chose Florida because Syracuse was looking for a 7-footer. And I wasn't a 7-footer, and then the 7-footer didn't even go to Syracuse, so it kind of messed them up as well.
During those years, I heard that maybe your body preparation, or you were skinny, or somebody told you that you were skinny and you were not prepared enough to be a pro player. Can you talk to me a little bit about that story?
Yeah, like coming out of high school, well, in high school, I never lift weights. Never touched a weight. Like we used to live with the football players, and where we from, football players is just throwing up everything like they are today. And like a skinny kid like me going in the weight room, living with football players, it just wasn't going to happen. So I never went to the weight room to lift weights. So my freshman year at Florida is when I start really training for weights. And then when I end up transferring out to Long Beach, I really didn't have to lift weights no more because my athleticism and my height carried me through that conference. But when I was in the SEC, I was still a freshman. I wasn't playing that much, but I needed to get stronger, and that's what I was working on. But once I got to Long Beach, I was fine by being 6'7", 190. So I like the first 3 years in college, I really didn't take weightlifting serious, and I think that's one of the biggest flaws I have. That I think I should have looked back and said I should have did this again. That's the only thing I say I wish I could go back and do again, just to train my body the proper way. And then coming out of college, like I wanted to get drafted, but at the same time, those years that I was in college, I didn't do the things that I had to do to get drafted because I wasn't strong enough. And so when I graduated, I went to a tryout for it's called the G League now, I think. But back then it was called the NBDL. So, and Nate Archibald was the coach, and he was like, you're just not strong enough. You're too weak. Like you're not built to be a professional basketball player. And I mean, I took it to heart, but for somebody that great telling me that, like either I could fold or I can go do the things I had to do to get better. And really that's what I did. I did everything I had to do to better myself to be a professional basketball player.
How hard it was to, that when somebody's that honest, or whatever they were, that honest, how do you took that? It was like, that was something that made you realize what you really had to do at that time?
Yeah, it's something I realized that I had to do, and I knew I had to do it because when I went there, you're playing against grown men. You're not a little boy no more. You're 22, but you're playing against 27-year-olds. So you're not a little boy. You got to get stronger. You can't rely on your height to carry no more because everybody 6'7", most likely professionally, 6'5" and above. And you're not going to find too many 6'2" no more, but point guards. Everybody else is 6'7" and above playing on the wing. So I mean, it's something I knew I had to do, and I did it. I mean, I had a great 15 years playing professional basketball overseas. Never regretted a day of my life. I mean, I enjoyed every country that I played in. I mean, I look back on it. I just tell people what they should be doing and not what I did and everything. Let me show you how to do it, but this is what you have to do to get there.
All right. So after you finish on college, what was next? What was next after college?
Oh man, when I graduated college and I didn't get drafted, I was looking to go overseas to play, but I got mixed up with an agent, and he had another big time client, and like he was really focused on that client, trying to get him to the league. And I mean, the number one pick is, so you have to do that. And I think I just got in a bad situation, so he was sending me to tryouts, and I wasn't never in shape when I went to the tryouts. So I ended up tearing my ligaments in both of my hamstring and my groin. So when I was in Canada, they was like, either you can take a shot or you can just let him heal on his own. I was like, because they say if you take the shot, you can tear it again. But if you let it heal on his own, it's going to be about 2 years. So I was like, Canada wasn't paying me that much money. It's only like probably $300 a week. I'm like, that's really not worth for me to sacrifice my body to take a shot and keep tearing my ligaments. So I sat out for 2 years after I graduated college. Actually, it was two of the most devastating years of my life. Really, like I was depressed about it. I was gaining weight. I still wanted to play, but I was like, how am I going to play? Because my thing was, I see other guys playing that I played against, and I know that I was better than them, or I gave them buckets, or I locked them down, and they making $500,000 or $250,000, and then I get an offer. They say you only getting $1,500 a month. I'm like, so it was hard at first. And then talking to my best friend who played in the league, he was like, dude, you haven't played in 2 years. You have to start somewhere. And so I got a deal in Mexico, got $3,000 for the month. First contract, easily. I mean, I did it for about 2 years, and from there, everything just blew up for me.
And during those 2 years after college, what you were doing? You had a kid at that time, right?
Yes, yes. I had a daughter. Uh, they, I was working for FedEx while I was waiting to play again. So I worked for FedEx during when I was for those 2 years. I was working for FedEx, and then I went to Mexico. After the season in Mexico was over, I came back home, worked for FedEx because I really had a wife and kid to provide for. Had kids to provide for, so I had to take care of them. So as a man, you have to have your responsibilities as well.
Yeah. How hard it was for you having all those? I mean, working and then on your mind, like, I should be playing pro. I know I can do it, and you see all these guys doing it and making money out of it, and you said to yourself, like, I can do it. Like, I may be doing that like them, and then like after 2 years, you told me that your friend told you like you gotta start somewhere, right? But how do you manage to be? I mean, to have this all this thing on your mind every day, every day, every day.
Uh, it was hard because people see you delivering package. They're like, man, you should be playing basketball. And like, you're right, I should be playing basketball, but right now I have to do what it is to take care of my family, and that was driving a FedEx truck. So I drove the FedEx truck, took care of my family, get off at 10 o'clock at night, go work out, go play with the guys. They was opening the gym for me. We would come to the gym 10 o'clock at night, playing 5-on-5 pickup to 12 o'clock. Like the wife's like, "You going to the gym this late at night?" I was like, "Yeah." I mean, it's something that I have to do. I have to be ready next time I got this phone call. And when I get this phone call, I'm gonna take advantage of it, and I'm not gonna look back. And well, like after my first season in Mexico, I think that's when I connected. I played against Bobby Joe over in Mexico, and I think
Mm.
I connected with Jose Paris, my agent, after my first season in Mexico. Maybe it was my second, but I connected with him, and he's the one that got the paperwork situated for me to come to play in Puerto Rico because I supposedly came to Puerto Rico in 2000 and I want to say 2003. But my father was in the army and we lived in Georgia. And when I was born, he was in Germany, but and him and my mom were separated. So they never married. So I ended up taking my mom's last name, and my father's name wasn't on my birth certificate. So after they found that out, we had to go back and get his name put on the birth certificate. And then 2000 and no, so it was 2004 I supposed to came because 2005 is when I originally came there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so 2005 we got the paperwork done, and my first year in Puerto Rico, I mean, after that, I really didn't look back. I mean, I just started realizing everybody money ain't your money. You got to prepare yourself to make your own money. Whatever they offer you, if you better, you ask for more. But you never look at the next man, how much that man making, because there's a situation where you don't know what he's done in his past or what he had been done before you to get there. So I just started worrying about everybody else's money and just started making sure Carmelo is making his money to take care of his family.
That's an amazing story, Melo. I mean that, and now can you say like that was meant to be, because you get to know Bobby Joe on Mexico, and then you connect that, then you go to Puerto Rico, and next is history. Like, and then that first year was 2005 with Isabella. And how did you adapt to the league that first year? You were just 1 year on Isabella. I think that was their last year, I think. How was that first year in the BSN?
The first year was still tough for me to play because like I had been playing in Mexico, so I was already a professional. But when I came over to Puerto Rico, I was with a young team but they had been playing in the league so long that the coach had been coaching them so long that he really played them more over me until like I was like, hold up, man, I know I'm better than this kid. Like I need to play now. So once I started playing more, it was getting more. They was playing me at so many positions my first year. I went from playing the three, playing the point guard, playing the four. Like we had 3 or 4 coaches my first year. Like, man, I hope it's really like this over here, changing 4 coaches within the season. So, but my first year was a struggle for me because I've ended up playing point guard majority of the season, and I wasn't in shape to be a point guard. Because if you're a point guard, you got to be the best shaped player on that court, because defender's gonna pick you up full court. You got to break that. You got to get the team into the offense, and I wasn't none of that. I wasn't in that type of shape. So it was a struggle. That probably was my worst shooting career and worst average career playing that year.
Yeah, and it was different because you were not used to be played at the point guard, right?
In college, I played it. My first year at Long Beach, I played the point. In high school, I played it a lot as well.
Okay.
But like, so I played it in college for a year, and like I could handle the ball, but I mean, it's not something that I really wanted to do.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And yeah, we can say it was a not usual big man at the point. Now it's like it's getting a little bit more into it, right? That the game has evolved, but back in the day, it was not like that. To see that big guy and you're 6'7", right? 6'7", 6'7" at the point. So, all right, and after that, you were a few years with Guaynabo Mets. how's that timing in Guaynabo? You spent 3 seasons there after that first year in Isabela. How was those years there? I think it was your maybe statistically talking about numbers. That was your very good years for you.
Yeah. And once the team from Isabella moved to Guaynabo the next year, and I think my first year in Guaynabo, like the team was mine. It was my team.
Mm.
So once they told me that when we left Isabella that year that they was gonna move to the city, might be Guaynabo, and my thing was that I was gonna come in better shape than I did the year before, and to be ready to take on whatever they throw at me. And like my 3 years at Guaynabo, like you just said, was my best 3 years. It's just because it was my team. I was the face of that franchise. I was carrying the load. Like if anything go bad, it's my fault. I would take blame for it, and that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, some people like today, like my kids, like, well, what happened, Dad? You played good for these teams. What happened when you went to these teams? I said things changed. Like you had to be able to adapt. Like when I left Guaynabo to went to Bayamón, Christian was the man. And like my thing is Christian is Christian team, but I'm still gonna do what I have to do to help this team win. But when I'm called upon, when Christian struggle, I will make sure I'm there. And like you got to be able to put on a different uniform. Either you can be the man, you can be the assistant to the man, or you can be the backseat driver to come up and play as well. So I mean, I had all 3 seats throughout my career, and I mean, people understand. Like I think that's why I lasted a long time in the league because I never had the ego where I'm better than somebody else. I'm gonna do what I have to do. Whatever role you want me to do, I was gonna do it. And if you need more, I'm gonna give you more. So that's the way I used to look at it.
That's a good way to describe you as a player. It's a whatever they need to do, Melo's gonna be there and adapt to it. Do you or can you recall some because it was a different situation for you on that first year on Isabella. Do you have any or you got Orlando Vega that year? Do you learn something about from him because he's a veteran at that time, right?
Yeah.
How was that relationship, or do you have any vets that were good for you learning or something?
My first year OV was my veteran. I mean, really, he just said, be professional, wait your turn, play hard, and just respect the game. Like he was like, people come in here, they come in here with the big head, and they don't last long. But if you're here playing hard and doing what you're supposed to do, like he said, stay out of trouble, and I mean, you'll have a good career here. But he was just being honest with me. He said things happen. I did things, but I'm still here. I think he was probably 37, 38 when he was when he was my veteran. So I mean, those are things that you learn. And like me growing up, I always hung with the older crowd and them teaching me the ropes and everything. So I was more a veteran than more like a rookie coming in. I understood that I have to be patient in order to get things you want.
After Mets in Guaynabo, you go to one of the most traditionally franchise in the BSN, and that's the Bayamón. Vaqueros de Bayamón is your first season, and then you win a chip. Tell me about that. How do you get to Bayamón? How was that? It was a trade or it was a
I was a free agent that year.
okay.
So my contract was over in Guaynabo, and Guaynabo didn't want to meet the contract, pay me the contract that I was really worth. So Bayamón set out a contract for me to go there, which I was really kind of nervous to go to Bayamón because they was already 11-0 while I was over in, I think I was in Israel playing or maybe Korea playing. I was like, oh man, I don't want to go over here. And then we started losing. But before I got there, they probably lost like 3 or 4 games in a row. So I said, okay, cool, I can go there now. But it was a no-brainer. I mean, Bayamón, it was either going to be either Bayamón or Ponce that I was going to sign with that year.
Oh.
Because, I mean, I wanted to sign with Ponce because my grandmother was still living there and I could have visited her more.
Oh.
And like I told my agent, there's only 2 point guards that I want to play with in the BSN. And that are either Christian or Bobby Joe. And both on Bobby Joe was on Ponce, Christian was in Bayamón. The only reason why I think I didn't go to Ponce, it was like Ponce, I think they was trying to get into the playoffs. And then the old owner was saying things like, well, if we don't make it to the playoffs, can we do this? I like, you know what? It's too many if. Let me go to Bayamón. They're gonna pay me, boom, no matter what if we make it, because we barely got in that year. So we had to play the play-in game against Arecibo. So we barely got in that year. So that, I mean, I chose Bayamón just because it wasn't no what if this. It was like, we want you here for the next 3 years. Boom. That was fine with me.
And you get there, and that was a great team. Christian was just spectacular. That his was best. He was one of the best players in that lapse of that decade from 2000 2010. Who was an amazing player. How can you describe this guy, this Christian?
I mean, Christian, man, he's an unbelievable player. Like, Christian got that you can't mess with me attitude. Like, I'm a bad mug. Like, dude, there's nothing you can do can stop me from doing what I want to do. And that's the kind of guy you want on your team. And then if you got a guy like that and he knowing that he got guys that have his back, like, whatever you do, we got you. But when you fall, you make sure you're doing the things you have to do to get us going right. And that's what he did. When things wasn't going right for him, he like, boom, he would give it to Mojica. Guaya would come in, Franklin, me. Eric Rodriguez, like, we had a squad, like Nathan Peavy, like, all those, like, we just had his back. Like, dude, you the face of the franchise. You're a Christian. Like, if we lose, they gonna blame Christian. They ain't gonna blame nobody else but Christian. Like, we can say it's our fault, but he's still gonna get the blame, and he made sure he didn't get the blame. So whatever he did, he like, it's not gonna be because of me. It's gonna be because we just lost for a reason. We didn't lose because we played bad. We just lose the other team outworked us or something like that.
That team was special. How was that chemistry in the locker room with that 2009?
We had great chemistry. Like, we hung out together after practice. Everybody go eat. I mean, it was fine. Like, nobody was off on their own. Like, after practice, we hang out for a few minutes. And people, if they go home, they go home. And now we go over to the restaurant and eat. Then we'll call it a day. But like, it was all good chemistry. And then they have problems with attitude, no egos. Everybody played their role, and I think that's how we won it that year. That's what it came down to.
There's a player that still's playing with Bayamón, number 44, Javier Mojica, and I always ask this question, like, how is possible this kid is so too much energy? Is he's like that every time, like, on and off the court?
Yes, he was. Like, if he's by himself, he'd probably be relaxed. But when he's around people, he's Mojica. He got that energy. He's gonna bring that energy to you, and I think that what got him. I mean, that what get him going. Like, his energy is, you can play off his energy to get you going. And like he can have a bad game, but his energy is still going and going. But next thing you know, he probably hit 3 or 4 jumpers in a row. Boom, he's back with that high energy. His face is lifted. Like, I mean, he's still doing great things in the league. And like when
Yes.
he first came over, like when we was in Bayamón together, he was still young. But by doing it now, I think he had won 3 more championships since then, 3 or
Yeah.
4.
Yeah, because
I
he,
mean,
he won one. He won one with Quebradillas in
yeah,
2017
yeah,
also. And damn, it's crazy. He's a hell of a player.
he is.
Very he's this hustle guy. He do great on both ends of the court. It's just amazing. It's a great kid, and this there's no one that can say, "Hey, we can't sign Mo because he's too old." His It's getting better every year, and it's like he doesn't get old. Seems like, um, Melo after that 2009. Well, let's say something. Let's bring up something. That sixth game of the championship, you went for 17 points, 8 rebounds, 5 3-pointers, and it was you hit if I'm not wrong, like 2 3-pointers that were very critical in the game. And as we were saying earlier, you do whatever it takes to win. You understand your role. Um, how do you prepare for this time? How do you felt that game? Being been the guy with those big shots. How do you look back that time? How do you feel about that game? Get me back to that day.
Well, if you look at the game at the beginning of the game, I think we was trying to knock them out at the beginning, real early, like throw the punch and just make them quit early. And it caused a problem with me and Christian where we both were struggling offensively. So, and then Julio set both of us down and put Guayacan and Eric Rodriguez in to get, and Franklin in to get everything going. And like they got it going, and then next thing you know, he put us back in, and those like it's all about confidence. Like this is what we've been working on every day in the preseason: shoot, shoot, shoot. And is where he was just driving and kicking. I was like, dude, either we're gonna lose this because I'm missing, or we're gonna win this thing because I'm about to hit this basket, next couple baskets. And I mean, it's just about the confidence that I had in myself and the confidence my teammates had to find me on those 2 shots. And really, that's what turned the page. And then once I hit those 2 threes, I think Christian come back down and hit a shot. Mojica get the steal, then we seal the game.
It was crazy. I remember talking to JoJo, Joel Jones it was like a month ago about that final. Um, after that final, uh, let me see. You went to another straight final that year, 2010.
Yep.
That was with Arecibo.
Yep.
How was that? I mean, I have a few players telling me this. One was AD Vasallo. He told me that if winning a championship is hard, winning a back to back is harder. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. It is hard to win back to back. And I think once we won in 2009, we did make changes in our reinforcement, and we ended up losing Danny, which probably was the biggest key to that 2009 championship when we brought Danny Santiago in. But we lost Danny to Arecibo that year. So, but by us going, we did have Ken Shannon, Rob, the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, we still had 2 good pieces, but injuries in that final really hurt us. And I mean, they beat us. I won't take it from them. They beat us good. I mean, they won, but it was definitely hard to see that because I think the season, the regular season that we had, it was meant for us to win, but due to injuries and whatever, it hurt us at the end.
Yeah, it's just basketball, right? It goes
Yeah.
like that. And it happened to Bayamón last year. No, 2021 when they had a few injuries then kept them from getting healthy, and they lose to Guaynabo that 2021, and they were not able to get to the finals with Arecibo, which people wanted to see. After those seasons in Bayamón, and that 2009 was your first chip, right? Your first chip as pro.
In Puerto Rico, yes.
Yeah, in Puerto Rico. I'll say a question later. When you get to Quebradillas, that season was special. They did a few changes on 2012, then 2013. They got a great season. They won to Ponce, and that was after 34 years without winning a championship. Quebradillas been one of another great franchise, another traditionally very people love basketball there, and they're big fans.
Yeah.
How's that season in Quebradillas when you get there? That fan base. How's that experience in Quebradillas? That 2013.
2013. I mean, that was probably the best championship for me because, like in Bayamón, everybody was used to them winning, and like, yeah, we did it, boom. But in Quebradillas, the city was always there. They welcome you to Quebradillas. Like you go, they at practice. Like you probably have like 1,000 people at practice watching if the coach don't close it. So they was all about their basketball. I mean, it was a great experience in Quebradillas when we won. The only reason why I say it was the best one because it's been 34 years since they won one, and I think they really deserve it because they really support their fans and they want to win, but they want to win by people who's doing it the right way, and they're going to have your back if you're doing the right way, if you winning or losing.
How would you describe that fan base on Quebradillas? Because you spent a few times there, and I'm referring to, I mean, not in the Curd, but when you go eat somewhere on Quebradillas, how's that? You have a experience with fans and off the court?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, you go to certain restaurants, they welcome you. I mean, certain places you don't have to pay to eat. I mean, just because you're doing great in the city, like that's their way of thanking you for the things you are doing. You go to the coffee shop right there, right off the number 2. Stop and give me a coffee before practice. He's like, I need a coffee. He's like, no problem. I get a coffee. I try to give them the money. They like, no, you don't have to pay for it. Just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, people doing your laundry for you and everything. I mean, they just really appreciate you if you're doing everything the right way. Like they'll love you no matter what. If you're losing, but you're respecting the game, respecting the community, they always going to be that friendly for you.
That 2013, you got a few players, very very good players around you. David, Sean, Ricky Melendez, Kevin Leash, Lorenzo, Jonathan Garcia. What about that team? What do you think was a key player on that season for you guys winning that chip?
I think it's by me being the oldest person in that locker room and knowing how to win, because being a winner, like what it takes. Because at some early in the season, we did have our problems where people was thinking like, well, is it his team or his team? And I made it known for most everybody, this is David's team. Whatever we got to go wherever David take us. But at the same time, I would tell David like, but well, we were playing with 3 reinforcements then. I mean, you have to understand that they got to play a key role in this as well. It's your team, but at the same time, these 3 got to do their job in order to keep their job. And I think once we had that conversation, like who team it was, who we going to follow behind, and I think, and by the bench being good as it was, because you had, who was it? It was Ricky, me, Ricky, Jonathan. We had Belbo in, and Rook.
JVD?
Rook, huh?
JVD or Brian?
Yeah, Jorge Brian. We had the Rook with us. So I mean, by us battling in practice every day was just making them better. And it's like I told you, I forgot at the beginning of the season, I think it was Kevin Leach, David, Redditch, somebody else was starting, and Mata. And this is like my first time ever coming off the bench. So I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm not used to this, Ricky. He like, dude, you just got to be ready to do what you do. And he was like, I was like, what you mean? He said, you shoot, you shoot. You can't just wait to get warm up, because you wait to get warm up, you'll be back over here on the bench. And I really didn't pay no attention to him when he said that. And then the coach put me in. I ran up in court 2 times, like I'm the oldest guy, so my bones are already still frozen. So I got to get loose. So I run up court 2, 3 times. Next thing you know, I'm coming right back out. And I told one of the assistants, Carlos, I was like, dude, I just got in. He like, dude, you got to give it to me as soon as you go in the game. I said, okay, no problem. From that day on, I just used to come off the bench like, I'm open, I'm shooting. If I get a steal, I get a steal. Whatever happens, I'm gonna make sure I contribute to this team to help us win. And then by the mid-season, I think we changed coach, and I ended up starting, and things like really just got better for me and everything. So I mean, by just having those group of guys around me to also help me to know what it was to come off the bench really was a positive for me. But I think by me being in the locker room, showing them the mature part, and somebody just really being honest to like who team is it, because I think in the past they probably had 3 or 4 superstars on their team, then nobody know who was the man. They didn't know who they wanted to follow. But if you just tell, like in 2009, we like, this is Christian team, like
You make
boom,
it
like
clear.
yeah, you got to make it clear, like if the coach don't say it, somebody got to say it in the locker room.
That's big time, and that's some stuff that fans doesn't know what happens in the locker room. That's where big time stuff happens. And I think that when they changed of coach was Charlie, right? Charlie was the new coach, right? Is a very respected guy here on Puerto Rico. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and he's a good coach. I mean, what I see from outside, never been with him on a locker room, but he's a good guy. Kevin Leash was a really good player on the court. He was a leader on the locker room, and he was that kind of vocal guy on the locker room.
No, he's more the leader on the court. Kevin, he's to himself. He was to himself. Like unless he's just really mad about something, he'll say something. But as being a vocal inside the locker room, he just like agreed to what I was saying, or whatever has to be done, it'll be done. I mean, he just played his role. He's like, I'm just here to hoop. I'm gonna do what it takes to win. Like if I got to get the ball to him, but if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, then it's your turn. Like I got to do it. I'm gonna go do what I have to do, and that's what he did. I mean, on the court, he was a leader. Like, he would put people in their spots and tell them what to do and everything, or tell them like, "Nah, I didn't see that. That's not what we want."
After winning that championship, 2014 was a very different team. It was everything changed. It was not like it usually does, right? When there's a team that did good next season, you're not doing anything different or changing anything, and run as almost the same or make do improvements, but almost stayed the same. But that was not the case for Quebradillas. I think that was a tough year. And I think Quebradillas was eliminated with Bayamón, I think in quarterfinals, if I'm not wrong. And after that, you go to Manatee, 2015, and your last season was 2016 with Quebradillas. Carmelo, we already talked a little bit about your retirement, but let's talk about a little bit about national team. After they find out you were able to play in Puerto Rico as a native, when was that first call for the national team?
Well, my agent Jose had called them in 2004 and told them the paperwork was clear. But they didn't pull the plug on it because that's the year they went to the Olympics. Like, he's like, I'm telling this kid can go, but they like, no disrespect. They like, we don't know nothing about him, so we're not going to bring him to practice. And I'm kind of glad they didn't because I was definitely out of shape. So probably messed me up by my years playing over there as well. But in 2005, we went to the pre-trial again to start over, and like we went to China, then we came back, and we probably started something in the Dominican Republic, and that's when they first released me. Cause like I promise you, the way Julio ran us, I was done the whole summer. Like I had no legs, I couldn't feel my shins, I had shin splints. Like I didn't even want to play basketball no more that summer. When he released me out, that was the best thing that ever happened to me because I just wanted to break from all that running. So the following year in 2006, when I came back, that's the year I was prepared. My body was really probably in the best shape ever. That's the year that I like, okay, I'm gonna be on this team. And it was still hard for me because it seemed like it was a mind thing. He was playing with me at first, like he'll start me, and then next thing you know, I probably won't see the game. I play 2 or 3 minutes, then I sit the bench the whole first half and come back and start the third quarter, sit the bench. I really want to do this, but if this is how it's gonna be, I don't want to do it. You get so that was my first season with it, but to me, I was like, you know what? After that, I just like stopped trying to fit in and just play basketball. And then from that day on, I think that's when Manolo became the coach, and I started just playing basketball, playing the way I know how to play, and not trying to fit in, trying to do the right things instead of just playing basketball. Because when you're playing with the national team, you got 12 of the best in the country and on the island, right? So I got to be one of those 12. So that means I'm going to contribute the best way I know. I'm going to catch and shoot, or I'm going to play great defense on you. So those are the things I just started doing what I need to do in order to stay more on the court. But I mean, I enjoyed every year of it. I mean, it was an honor to represent Puerto Rico because of my father, and just because my grandmother lived there as well. Like she was still on the island when I was there, so it was something that I had from them, to make me be proud of by representing the island.
What was the most special moment with that uniform on?
I think first by just putting it on, like that's the most special moment. Like, and just playing with Carlos Arroyo, playing with JJ. I mean, these guys. I mean, they are the face of Puerto Rico. Just playing alongside those guys and everything. I mean, that was an honor to play with them. I mean, and then going to different countries, you playing against Dirk, you playing against Barbosa, then I mean, just playing against the United States. I mean, you playing against the best players in the world, and to me, that's more than playing better than the NBA because you're not getting the best 12 players in the NBA each night on the team. You're playing against them, the best 12 from each country. So it's like almost playing in the NBA.
Hmm. That's great. How would you when was that last time with the did you play that 209? I think it was the uh Premundial 2009. You were there, right? That was when that was in San Juan, and that was Brazil. Those great teams, great those teams brought the best players they had.
Yep.
Take me back to that 2009. That was in San Juan, actually, where Guillermo had that alley-oop by Philly. How
Yeah.
was that tournament?
I mean, that was good. Like it was Brazil brought their best, Dominican brought their best, and by just being out there on the court against those guys and we playing, it was wonderful. Like there's some like you can't explain it because everything is happening so fast. You got him, you got to guard Barbosa tonight. Okay, I got to guard Garcia the next night. So I'm like, dude, the wing players, you're not getting no break. Point guards not getting no break because they guard some of the best point guards. Like, it was fun playing, especially it was fun playing in San Juan because mostly everybody from Puerto Rico was there. And how often can you get that being in your home country playing a tournament like that?
That doesn't happen too much often. That's right. Melo, let's get to a few questions here. I call it the catch the Q, shoot the A. Just right there. Which let's keep it on BSN or with the national team. Which was the toughest court to play as a guest on the BSN?
Oh man, Ponce. Ponce. Ponce was very tough just because how the goals were sitting and the crowd was even crazier. Like Ponce is a very tough place to play in. Like if you win, you better get out of there quick. But Ponce fans, they was something else, man. Like I think that's probably the toughest place, probably some of the bad games that I had in my career in Ponce.
Yeah, I think Bostel Figueroa, he told me the same. Ponce was awful playing there. And you know what? Sean Redhage back in 2013, he dropped 40 P's there.
Yeah, he did. He did. Then we had to get out of there
as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the best teammate on the BSN? If you have to name one.
Best teammate, man. For me, it probably was Christian because me and Christian really hung out the most from Bayamón. And like when I left Bayamón, he left Bayamón, we still hung out the most. I mean, he became one of my best friends. So I mean, that relationship just got stronger when we became teammates.
Which was the most special championship?
2013. 2009 was good because that was my first one, but 2013 was special because you have more fans crying than the players because it's been so long since they won one. And I mean, and they supported us throughout that season. The way the community came together, really, I mean, I think that's why it was special to me.
All right, let's do a lineup here. Melo, from the BSN, 5, make a lineup and a coach. Players that you played with.
Players that I played with? Oh man, that's tough. I played with some great players, man.
Yeah.
All right. That's a tough one. The players I played with, from the BSN, I think I have to go Christian with my 1. I'm gonna go with Mo as my 2, and like I put David at the 3, even though he gonna call himself a shooting guard. And 4, I'll probably go with Terrence Shannon.
Oof.
And then 5, my 5s, that's tough because it was only like 2 centers that I played with. 3. It was Tractor, Danny, and Mike Sweetney. But I think I put Tractor at a 5 because Tractor used to clean up everything when we used to let people we let people beat us for no reason, and then he just cleans it up. So I think that'd be my 5.
And who's going to be the coach of that starting 5?
Oh man, who's gonna be the coach? That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough. I had some great coaches, but really, I think the only one probably could get to those players is probably be Julio. He probably the only one could get to those players mentally in order for them to play together.
I remember Carlos Arroyo saying, telling a story about him, about Julio. He was, I think it was this game, and I think the ball hit him, and he went to the floor, and he was there like laying on the floor, and Carlos was, "Hey, are you good? Are you good? Hey," and Julio was like, "I'm good. Just take your time."
There ain't no telling.
Carmelo, oh man, I got a good question. Yeah, do you have a special routine when each game day in the locker room or whatever? Or because I'm gonna tell you, I've heard a lot of stuff. I've heard that there's a Eddie Casiano. He eats half of sneaker before the game and the other half on halftime, and some stuff like that. Do you do anything special?
My thing was I always had to eat probably 6 hours before the game. So at 1 o'clock, I'm eating my meal. Right, I eat steak, pasta, whatever. At 1 o'clock, I'm eating that meal. But when I used to get to the locker room, I always have my energy drink. So like I take a 5 hour and pour it in C4, and then I drink half of it before the game, and then I'll be drinking the rest of it throughout the game to keep me going and everything. So that's about the only thing I used to do throughout the season.
Oh, that's cool. What was the craziest thing you seen in a locker room that a player does or whatever? You don't have to say the name, but what was the craziest thing if you can recall something?
Man, it ain't no telling. But like we had guys put shaving cream all over people, pants and everything. Watch them put it on and just smear it all in the go throw it in the toilet. I mean, we had some guys do some crazy things. Throw their uniforms in the toilet before the game, just for no reason. So yeah, it's a crazy things goes around.
That's crazy. Melo, I wanna really want to thank you. Time you took to be here with me. I'm pretty sure fans will enjoy this conversation. Just wanna thank you also for representing Puerto Rico and all the time you spent playing in Puerto Rico. I know I enjoyed seeing you play. I mean, good at both ends of the court, the good defense, good offense. I can tell you're a player that understands the game, and you're not just doing what you uh, had to do in the court. You just understand the game as well. And I'm just telling you, I appreciate all that. I'm pretty sure everyone enjoy your game. Um, Melo, would you share with us uh, the best advice you could give to a basketball player which is starting his pro career right now?
I mean, just be humble, be patient with it. Like, don't be in a rush to get the big bucks and don't worry about what everybody else is getting, because you're going to get what you deserve. You know what you deserve. The guys who's working for you should know what you deserve. I mean, just be patient, keep working hard. It will come, and don't turn down money either. Like, sometimes you play in Puerto Rico for 3 or 4 months, you go to Europe, like, well, they're not giving me no money. But I mean, well, to me, my advice is you go take that money, and then when something better come up, you can leave and go there. But don't just leave money on the table that you shouldn't be leaving.
Great. Melo, just want to thank you once again for being here with me. Catch and Shoot is platform is open for whatever you think you need of us, and I really want to thank you for this conversation we just had.
Appreciate you, man. No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. A todas las personas, gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Pueden suscribirse al canal de YouTube, es totalmente gratis. Recuerda que estos episodios están disponibles siempre en todas las plataformas de audio para el disfrute de todos ustedes, y pueden seguirnos en todas las redes sociales como @cachanchup Puerto Rico. Este fue Iván Rodríguez, como siempre, ¿verdad? Para el disfrute de este podcast de Cachanchup Puerto Rico.
De oro, date un shot de cloro, loro para la digestión, que lo mío es cuestión de tiempo y el tiempo da la razón. Yo tengo el sazón, hora de apretar el botón, gracias a todo el que apoya de corazón.
I mean, I think that's a perfect way to explain JJ. He treats you as an equal. He'll never look down on you or treat you like you're...
¿Qué te hizo irte por el baloncesto? Esta es una pregunta que es la primera vez que la voy a contestar live.
Yo pienso que yo soy quien soy hoy en día en el baloncesto gracias a 2 personas. A Monchi, que en paz descanse, y a Martín de León.
Que estaba con Arroyo en el mismo equipo y no me lo quisieron dar, no me quisieron llevar y ganamos.
¿Qué tú crees que pasó ahí?
Pues no sé, parece que no me hice cerquillo ese día, me veía feo, no me quisieron montar en el avión.
Un momento que nunca voy a olvidar en mi carrera, y ella fue la única razón por la cual yo jugué en Puerto Rico. Yo me quería ir para Europa
y viendo como Miami trata a sus jóvenes, me debí haber quedado en Miami, porque lo que me pasó en Dallas fue una injusticia.
Esto fue como que la cherry en el cheesecake, ¿me entiendes?
¿Entiendes?
Que la cherry no es tan grande. Así es que yo lo veo.
Dame el celular. Y yo, no, coach, yo lo voy a poner en el camerino, mala mía. No, déjame verlo. Tacho, lo cogió. ¿Cuántas veces yo he dicho a la gente que apaguen los celulares y lo dejen? Pues todo el mundo, no, es verdad. Tacho, cogió el celular, metí con 3 pisos. ¡Pam!
Después del juego 5 se me pega el vikingo. Oye, la próxima quincena es tuya, ¿oíste?
Coming from, I came from a Division II college. I didn't play at a big time school, so I don't have the big name and the big resume that other players have. But I know I can play. I mean, basketball is basketball. It don't matter where you come from. So
I had 21 in a row, 30 points in the third quarter. A couple of seconds before the third quarter is over, I fouled the guy and I walked myself to the bench and sat down. I said, I'm not playing no more.
¿Cómo te digo? Yo empecé ganándomelo, Iván. Yo pienso que gracias a Dios, pues yo me he ganado los minutos, me he ganado el respeto de los muchachos, que ¿sabes? Que es algo que me he ganado el respeto de Gary.
Those young hoopers out there, what would it be?
Don't practice what you don't want to be.
Esto es traído a ustedes gracias a Sportify.lo. Si usted está buscando representación legal, asesoría financiera, o si eres un jugador profesional y estás buscando representación legal de un personal certificado por la FIBA, el licenciado Esteban Aguilera es el hombre que tú estás buscando. El licenciado Esteban Aguilera lo puedes buscar a través de las redes sociales como @Sportify.lo, y es quien hace posible este proyecto de